toilet brush. I named this toilet brush Genie after an old girlfriend of mine had really sharp fingernails who could scratch my back real well. This is the best back scratcher money could buy, right here. You know, when you gotta scratch your back, this is the best. So it's not for cleaning a toilet. Don't get it mixed up with the one you use for your toilet. Maybe get a separate one. Maybe write Genie on yours as well, and then you'll know the difference.
Hello, this is Patrick with New Jersey's Outdoor Adventures YouTube channel in beautiful Point Pleasant Beach, New Jersey, standing out in front of St. Peter's Church. You might recognize this church. This is the church from the Amityville horror movie series. And I met up with Michael. Michael has a really cool Chevy Astro camper van conversion that he's going to give us a tour of today. So join us. Hello, Michael, and welcome to New Jersey Outdoor Adventures.
Hey, how's it going? I'm Mike. This is my 2004 Chevy Astro van. It was all-wheel drive, but now it's four-wheel drive. It's my everyday driver. It's my only vehicle. So this vehicle has to do everything for me. It has to look good, obviously. But I have to use it for work and having a good time. And I do this thing. I'm 4 years in a row now driving across the country to do high-end carpentry work. And I live in this thing while I'm traveling. And this is the interior right now. So it's still a work in progress. And I will get in, let's get into this. Let's get into the setup with the way it's set up now, because I know people are interested. I did a lift kit. I did the 5-inch lift from Journeys. I had to do my own thing with it after the fact, but I did the ball joint flip, you can probably see here, which really helped with the alignment. You have alignment issues once you get above 4 inches on lift. I did the Chevy S10 transfer case. You can see in here, you can see the stick shift coming through the floor. We get this out of the way, and that's kind of neat. And then on the rear, I did the S10 Chevy springs, and I have airbags because I'm carrying a lot of weight and it's uneven load. And when the van is basically empty, it sits nice and sits perfect. It's about an inch higher in the rear than it is in the front. But once I load it up, it sinks down a little bit. You put the little air in the airbags, evens things out, and it's a much better ride. I take this off-road on every drive. So I'll just drive down the highway and then I'll see a dirt road and go, oh, let's go on an adventure. And so far I've not gotten myself too much trouble. The four-wheel drive really works. The roof box obviously is because it's an Astro van. There's not a lot of space in here. That thing is jam-packed with another sleeping bag, recovery board, shovel. I put tools in there. The rack itself is something I did real fast a few years ago before I left town. I'll tell you what, the amazing thing about this is what I did here. It was about shaping this cut to fit over the standard rack, and these pieces are bolted directly to it. I placed them, I snapped a straight line, and then I trimmed all those down. Each one's on a slight angle because the roof of the vehicle's curved, but you want this to be flat. Made all that happen. I put a 1/4 sheet of plywood up there, and I ran these rails through. Now, this was important. The wind deflector is important. Same angle as the windshield. There's no noise from this, and I'm absolutely positive it helps with gas mileage. This system was meant to be temporary, but it's been up here for a few years now. A friend and I, will be making bumpers for these, and a roof rack, and a skid plate within the next few weeks. You're going to see that. It's going to be very cool. So, and I also want to keep this bar system when we do that, because you could bolt so many things to it. It's pretty cool. The interior, I went with a linoleum floor, not vinyl, no off-gassing with that. I didn't even glue this down. It's just sitting there on a piece of 1/2 inch, and under that is the factory carpet. I didn't go crazy insulating it. I think that that's going to be fine. I put these in, they were real inexpensive. I could shake them out. It's a little bit of cushion when you're in there. I have a bunch of tools in here now. That's what I do. This is a real simple platform. I haven't made covers for these the foam mattress. It's a 3-inch RV mattress. That is enough for me. People getting this crazy thing with the 6-inch mattresses for comfort and all that, and I get it, but this is pretty comfortable. This folds up into a seat if you want it to, and there's a whole tray here. There's a ton of tools here. I just got this cooler, which fits in there perfectly. Interesting thing about this Igloo cooler, I was told you could put ice in that and it'll hold ice for 5 days in 95-degree weather. I haven't tried it out yet, but we'll see. The thing about a van, you've got both sides with wheel wells. What do you do with it? And I have to carry material. So I did these 2 built-ins on the side. I could still put 4x sheets of plywood down the center here, which is why this cabinet here is up here and cantilevered over. One of the things you'll see here is I put a sliding door in, ton of gear in here, a lot of recover stuff, survival bag. I got a survivalist mentality, so I have everything I need in case I get stuck in the middle of nowhere. Computer bag. I've got the Blue Eddy solar generator, which works great for me. I haven't had any issues with it. I'm not eating up a lot of power. I'm using my computer, charging up batteries for my cameras, things like that. That's about it. This was just a quick cabinet I made. I did this cutout here. It kind of resembles the rear windows on the Astrovan, so I thought that was neat. These are bags off the Mali 2 military packs from back in the day. They work perfect. This is not hinged, it just pops off. And what I did here, and to me this is important, okay? If you're gonna be in a small space, anything you own, if it could serve more than one purpose, it's important, right? It seems like a good idea. So this is my toilet. They say this will hold 300 pounds. I'm not going to put that to the test as far as me. I'm not going to gain a couple 100 pounds to test it, but it works fine. And because it'll hold 300 pounds, along with all this other stuff, I put a lid on it. Now you think, why has it got a lid on this thing? It doesn't need that. Well, if we bring this out here, this becomes a real stable step stool. So it helps you get in the van, but it also helps me get up here and deal with the box. Makes life easier. It's nice to sit on. You got a camp chair now. It's not just a toilet. And there you go. And folds up. For those of you that don't know how it works, you just pop this ring up, you put a plastic bag through, you roll it over. This holds the plastic bag in place. I'm a woodworker, so I have a bag full of sawdust. You put some of that in there, you do what you got to do, and you deal with it. It works great. I have used it. I have used it in the van, in the heat. We don't need to say anything else about that. And in this other little compartment here, it's the solar panels. So really, I wanted a place for the solar panels for the Blue Eddy, and I wanted a place for the toilet. That was real easy to access, and it's kind of neat. I went with the clips just because I didn't feel like putting hinges on it at the time, and it does make things kind of easy. So let's pop that away real quick, put this back together. Up here, there's just, I don't have a lot of food up here, just some stuff. I got my vitamins in here. In the future, there's going to be another cabinet here. There's going to be a cabinet up here. Right now, this is stowed like you would do on a boat in the Navy. And that's my clothing. And yeah, that's that. There's recovery stuff stored everywhere. There's a jack in the back. Before we jump to the back, let me show you what's going up here in the cab too, because you might find some of this interesting. For one thing, this was in the van when I got this, and this were in the van when I got it. This is great because I can put my phone here when I'm driving and I can do my maps. Fantastic. This thing, it just worked out this way. When I'm driving and it's late and you're getting tired, you do this 30 times, do it 30 times, both sides. It kind of wakes you up when you're driving. This is my favorite thing. I'm a big music guy, and I was a DJ here at the Jersey Shore back in the day. So my iPod has over 7,000 songs that I uploaded personally. And a gal pal of mine last year gave me this thing. Plugs in the cigarette lighter, and you select on your FM radio a radio station with static. And you tune this to it, and now you can play your iPod through your factory speakers. That's fantastic. So I'm just jamming. I can listen to whatever I want to listen to. We can hear the train in the background. We apologize. The seat swivel. I almost forgot to mention this. Everybody's going to want to know about the seat swivel because you can't go out and buy this. Custom job, super heavy duty, locks in all 4 positions, plus there's a position on both angles to the rear. It's made by a guy, it's Ironclad Metalworks. Real nice guy. Look, there's a group for everything online. There's a group for everything on Facebook. With Astrovans, there's several groups dedicated to Astrovan, and he's in those groups. He needed a swivel. He decided to make one. And we all thought, that's great. And 40 people gave him $100 each, and then it took him months to get them done. And we were all scared. We didn't think he was going to get us, but he got it to us. And you know, I don't use it all the time, but when I'm look at what it does. Look at how it opens up the whole van. This is fantastic. I could sit here, read a book, read a magazine. Reading this magazine right now. It happens to be a buddy of mine featured in here from like 20 years ago. Very cool. And it makes the place way more comfortable and livable. I think if you have a van, small space, do whatever you got to do to put a swivel in here. And I know people get kooky about being dot approved. I get it. This one happens to be way overbuilt. If he was gonna get it dot approved, it would pass. Some people will do the Northern Tool swivel. Do whatever you want. If you're driving by yourself, it doesn't really matter that much. There's nobody else over here. But it makes sense to have this. So, oh, you're wondering about this thing. Does this look? It looks a little scary. It's got the number 13 on it. This thing here, it's called a post maul. Being a woodworker, I made this handle. It's laminated. It's got walnut down the center. It's got mahogany and cherry. Make the handle here. What I do with this is a whole body workout. You're on the road. You got to keep the blood pumping. You're trying to stay in shape. I'm not going to go crazy with this. It's not what we're here for. And I don't want to whack Patrick with this thing. But you can take this and just work out with it. It's better than hitting the tire. You're working the back sides of your shoulders. I can come around and, you know, do the bayonet thrust, that sort of thing. Arm curls, tricep extensions. And so it looks funny, but normally I'm in the middle of nowhere doing this, which might look even funnier if somebody saw me. But this is a fantastic thing. And you don't have to do this. You could use a sledgehammer. So that's what that's about. Also, I can get into any door with this. So this is a universal key here. Am I scaring anybody? I hope not. On the back of the van is my custom clunker. It's a 1941 frame. Many of the parts are off of 1980s mountain bikes. My buddy Tick, who's actually happens to be in that magazine, just ironic, he made these custom mounts for the rear cantilever brakes. He also made these handlebars. He also brazed on the bosses for the front cantilever brakes. This bike is my go anywhere bike. I've had this on Slick Rock and Moab. I've had it out here all over LA. This thing's been everywhere. The rear hatch is up. And if you look here, this is a release from the, you can do this from the inside. Chevy didn't design a way to open this rear hatch from the inside. So this is the way to do it. You can pop this plastic off, you can see the mechanism, just wrap a piece of string around it, now you can open it from the inside. That's a big deal. If you're camping, you want to get some air at night, or if you want to get out for some reason, makes life a lot easier. You know what I do want to point out that we didn't really show that you can't see too much, and it is important, and I just noticed it the other day. I had a cargo van before this, and I slept in this direction here. I was sleeping this way, and it seemed like I could fit in it better. I don't fit in this one as well. In the cargo van, all you have is ribs, and then you have the sheet metal. But here, all this is double walled. The inside of this van is actually a little narrower than the cargo van. Why am I bringing it up? Why is that important? What it means is that the passenger vans, they're all double walled, they're more rigid, they're more heavy duty. It's the better vehicle to use, in my opinion, if you're gonna go four-wheeling. So just something to think about when it comes to the Astro van. Don't believe me, go look at a cargo van and compare it to this. I mentioned to a guy the other day who has had 8 Astro vans in the last 20 years. He didn't even realize that. So just something to think about. Is there anything else in here? I don't think there's anything else in here. Maybe we'll take the bike off the back real quick. I'll open the back doors. It's messy, but you can kind of see what's going on. I don't have my full kit of tools in here. I've been doing a job in upstate New York, and I've left a lot of them there. So it's actually even more roomy right now than it is when I'm on the road most of the time. Neat thing about this rack is I can still open these doors with it on here. This is just leftover foam that I keep. It comes in handy for so many things. When you're on the road, when you got to load, you can just cram it between things. Keeps things from rattling around. Oh, here's another thing about astrovan. The doors stop, but if you lift this little tab up, you can open the doors all the way. So that's huge. This is for the bike, but it's also for the airbags that I have on the back of the van. So I want to adjust my load. This makes things easy. Every van lifer has to have a skateboard. Whether you're good on it or not, you have to have it. I don't know what that's about. A friend of mine works for this company, and this is pretty cool. It's got a spring in this. It's a carver board, so you don't have to kick it all the time. It's pretty cool. And this is what's going on if you want to take a look from under here. This tray is actually a table, goes on some sawhorses. This bag is full of tools. I got my tool tote, my hardware tote above that, hand truck. This is my, really my bike tools, but I added a few other things in here. So while I'm on the road, I may even build a bike. I was looking on Craigslist locally the other day, and there's some old Schwinn's on there and some old mountain bikes. I may build a clunker while I'm here, or a really cool beach cruiser. It's kind of my thing, is matching a bunch of parts together. I've got my, dude, you would dig this, man. This used to be the very best tripod money could buy, tilt-off. Made in New Jersey, because everything from New Jersey is tough. All aluminum, and this is what I use when I'm filming things, so that's kind of cool. A little bulky, but it's super. You can put a movie camera on this thing. Yeah, I think we've pretty much got that covered. You know, got my camera in here. I lashed some things to these corners for now. There's going to eventually be a cabinet built here. It's going to have a tongue and groove aromatic cedar ceiling that I am not going to treat because I want it to smell well and I want it to keep the insects out. There'll be a shelf going across. There'll be a small cabinet there. This is, you guys will get a kick out of this. Somebody's going to get a kick out of this. Toilet brush. I named this toilet brush Jeannie after an old girlfriend of mine, a really sharp fingernails who could scratch my back real well. This is the best back scratcher money could buy right here. You know, when you gotta scratch your back, this is the best. So it's not for cleaning a toilet. Don't get it mixed up with the one you use for your toilet. Maybe get a separate one. Maybe write Jeannie on yours as well, and then you'll know the difference. But this is the best back. This will save your life in the middle of the night, man. Little mosquito bites or whatever. But that's pretty much about it, I think, unless Patrick has any questions for me.
Thank you very much for taking the time out of your busy schedule while you're visiting the Jersey Shore to meet up to give us a tour of your camper van. I'm a bike guy too, so I can appreciate that vintage mountain bike. You call it a clunker.
Yes.
Is that a thing? People buy old frames and make mountain bikes?
Yeah,
and cruisers out of them?
it's an interesting thing. So back in the day, all bikes were mountain bikes back in the day before there was paved roads. There's the Buffalo Soldiers. There's a great story on that. This black regiment, they actually rode single gear bikes with some like 40 to 60 pounds of gear. I forget the route they took, but they rode them over the Rockies to prove it could be done. But by the time they did that, cars started coming into play, so they didn't decide not to go with the bicycles. But yeah, the mountain biking, really, the people that get the most credit for it are the guys from Marin County up in Northern California. Gary Fisher, Charlie Kelly, Joe Breeze, all those guys. I have connections to most of those people through the mountain biking world because of this. And the bikes they were building originally, they called them clunkers. Originally, they started on balloon style, we call them beach cruisers around here. They were heavy duty frames, they could put a fatter tire on them. They did a race called the Repack. They called it the Repack because they were only running a coaster brake. They were trucking their bikes up to the top of the mountain and bombing them down. They were really called bombers. Then they started putting gears on from road bikes, and those bikes were called clunkers. The thing is about mountain bikes, this is kind of good that we're talking about this because it's like a weird thing with me. I've had some arguments with some of those old timers because a couple of them will goof on us about making these clunkers. Like, you could go buy a bike now. The thing is, those guys were really into racing. A lot of those guys were road bike racers first. They're into the speed of it. So when you get on a mountain bike, especially in the 80s, when I first saw a mountain bike, my head exploded. I was in the Marines out in California. I was like, holy cow, you can drive that thing anywhere. Take it anywhere. So the first thing I did when I got out was I bought a mountain bike. Most uncomfortable thing on the planet. I mean, you're leaning way forward. You got all this weight on your arms. They designed them so you could go as fast as humanly possible, technically, and I mean technically, like technically operating the bike on the trail, That's what it was designed for, but not everybody wants to do that. Not everybody wants to go super fast. They want to go out there and enjoy it. So that bike, I could still take anywhere, and I'm bent over a little bit, but a slight forward lean where not all your weight is on your arms is really optimal if you want to enjoy the experience. So that's what it's about. And it's cool. You know, it's hard to buy cool. It's hard to just go out and buy cool. There's not a lot of things that are automatically cool. So it's not that I'm trying to be cool. I just tend to make things, and I make things look good, and they work right, and then they end up being kind of cool. But I did not invent the clunker. We all did it as kids. You couldn't buy a mountain bike back in the day. We all modified our bikes. I came from the age when you couldn't go out and buy a BMX bike. You took Schwinn's and fixed them up and put motorcycle handlebars on them and all that. So it's really just a grown out thing from that. Nothing's really changed, but yeah, the bicycle thing is awesome. You have to have a bike on your van. You never know what's going to happen. You get stuck in the middle of nowhere, you need some help, get on the bike and go, right? You do it. What else? What else you got for me?
Now, what's the connection with the Astro van? I know these are pretty well respected. There's a whole community around the Astro van.
I'm glad you asked.
Can you tell us a little bit about why?
Yeah, so it's funny. I always saw the train again. We're having all these noise issues today. We apologize. Astrovan's been around since 1985, I believe. Yeah, 85, 95. They were made for 20 years. Excuse me. They stopped making them in 2005. This is a 2004. I always saw them. My uncle had the first Astrovan, and I never originally, and this is what messed me up for years, they were shorter. They made them a little bit shorter. Then they extended it a hair. The wheelbase never changed. It's just a body thing. Maybe you can see it from this side. Let me do this here. And I think they actually call them shorties today. I'm not an expert on those older ones, but the original stopped around here somewhere. So they added about 16, 18 inches to the rear, and they've all been the same since then. The thing about the Astrovan is it's a truck chassis. The control arms are basically off a 1500. The rear end is kind of like a Corvette rear end. The rear end is offset. You can't just take a rear end off of a Corvette, but it had that same kind of gearing. They came in different types of rear end gearing, from 410, 342, which this has, 373. If you could find one and you look at the door code and you have the G80, that's the rear end, tells you it's a posi traction rear end. If you have a two-wheel drive with a G80, you do a lift kit on that and good tires, you can take it anywhere. So that's great. If you can get the all-wheel drive with the G80, oh, you got a super capable vehicle. This vehicle with the new transfer case, it's interesting because the all-wheel drive versions, sometimes the all-wheel drive can get stuck and you wouldn't know it, and it's on all the time and it's killing your gas mileage. So one of the things I just recommend to people is if you have an all-wheel drive, do the 4x4 conversion kit. You're always in two-wheel drive. You'll probably see a major improvement in your shifting with the transmission, with your power band, and your gas mileage. That happened to me. With the bigger tires, I'm running a 30-inch tire on here now. There's a graph that you can look up, and it tells you, if you talk about what your rear end gearing is and the size of your tires, it gives you your RPM range. And according to that, I'm supposed to be getting better gas mileage with a bigger tire and a slight loss of power. And that's exactly what I feel. I don't notice the loss of power so much, but I clocked at one point, I was getting over 22 miles per gallon in this thing going across the country, loaded with tools. That's pretty good. I was keeping it under 75 this time. I can cruise in this thing 85, 90 all day long. So it's great. But as far as, trying to answer your question, I'm sorry, I went off a little bit there. But it's a heavy duty truck. If you get this on a lift at a garage, they're gonna look at it and they're gonna go, wow, that's a truck. It's not a minivan. The Astrovan people will tell you it's the van that can. From the factory, it can tow over 5,000 pounds. This is no joke, it's a truck. It's a truck, it's a van body truck. It's not just a minivan. It's not your mother's minivan. So that's why people know it. And so these are becoming kind of like the new Westphalias, the new VWs, and these are way more reliable. No, it's got a V6 Vortec motor. This motor will go, people are getting over 500,000 miles on these things. I know people have got way over 300,000 miles on them. You keep it, you tune it right when it needs it, you keep putting oil in it, keep changing that oil, it's gonna run forever. Transmissions, that's the thing. I blew my transmission in Tucson, Arizona a few years ago. I went with the Jasper transmission. Installed was $3,300. Yeah, that's a lot. But look at what I do with this thing. To me, it was worth it. And it's proved to be worth it the last few years, the way I drive it. Brand new transmission. To me, and there's no rust. Zero rust on the chassis of this thing. And I know that's harder for you guys on the East Coast. I know how jealous you are. You tell me all the time. You really want to find an astrovan, any car. You're going to buy an old car. Don't buy a rust bucket. It's a waste of money. And something to think about that you don't think about is that not only is it a waste of money, but if you have to do work to it, mechanics charge by time. If you got rusted bolts that they got to deal with, then the price starts getting crazy. So avoid the rust. If you can find one of these with no rust, it's worth pumping the money into, because nobody's making anything like this. I could park this in a regular parking space. The reason I have it is I live in Los Angeles. I need to zip around and park, and we got a sound problem here. Can you hear me? We got a sound problem. So that's the real issue, the reason why I got it. And it's working out real well for me. I dig it. It's kind of fun to take such a small vehicle and do as much as I'm doing with it. It's kind of a challenge, and I enjoy that too. But, I wouldn't mind having what this guy's got.
Well, thank you for taking the time to give us a tour of your van and share a lot of great information with the viewers. Now, if our viewers want to follow you, how are they going to engage?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm all over the place. I'm not a secret. So there's Astrovan Tribe on Instagram. There's also, which is just at Astrovan Tribe or hashtag Astrovan Tribe. There's Mike Z Design, which is mostly my woodworking. I'm on YouTube. If you want to find me on YouTube, I don't have a name for the channel. You're gonna have to teach me this. But you can do user/MZD for Mike Z Design. So user/MZD 1966 is how to find my channel. But if you went hashtag Astrovan Tribe or hashtag Mike Z Design on YouTube, you'll find me.
Well, this is Patrick with New Jersey's Outdoor Adventures YouTube channel. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like this video, comment, share, and subscribe. I'd love it. And we'll see you soon.